What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast. You are in for a treat today. The gentleman I have on, you can already tell he's got this dynamic personality. He's done some amazing work. Babs Faseesin is the author of the book, Cracking the Life Code, and Chief Strategy Officer at ROITT Consulting. He is an expert at leveraging the power of brands to secure the competitive edge. Babs has worked on projects for several leading brands across North America, Europe, and Africa, including Samsung, Coca-Cola, Toyota, Procter and Gamble, and Nestlé, among others. His keen insights into the development and implementation of high-impact business transformation, marketing, and brand development initiatives have helped thousands of entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. Babs, you have been busy, my brother. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the great work you're doing with the podcast.
It's truly my pleasure, man. So congrats on the book. I hope, by the way, was I close on the last name? Because I practiced, but I wasn't sure if I nailed it.
You're good. You're good.
Congrats on the book, man. I mean,
Yeah.
You've done so much, but I love the name of the book, Cracking the Life Code. Talk to me about where the passion came from to write this book. Where did that come from, man?
Well, listen, passion comes from pain. So I was a young boy. I ran into the room one day and I saw my mom crying. I asked her why she was crying. She told me, hey, I had just gotten the bad news from my mom, and I'm not in a position to help her. That broke my heart. I was only 12 years old. As a 12-year-old kid, I said to myself, I want to grow up to become an adult who has built a life for himself, and placed or positioned himself in a place where he's able to provide help for the people he cares about. And that one single moment changed my life. I began this whole journey of wanting to understand exactly what else life had to offer beyond the immediate circumstances that surrounded my growing up and my upbringing at the time. I was born and raised in Nigeria, and so it was a time of devastation. It was a time of lack, of poverty, and a lot of, not so great experiences that surrounded my childhood. So for me, there was just one purpose. How do I change these experiences? And so I was very fortunate to have a mother who is a library scientist. And so she loved books, and she gave us this whole opportunity to explore books. And so I read a lot. I began to dig through the pages of books just to understand how I could help shift, the circumstances that I found myself as a child. And as I continued year after year, got into college, and while my friends in college spent a lot of time partying, and I spent a lot of time reading books in the library, just trying to understand, how do I uncover what else life has to offer? I just knew there had to be more to life than all that I experienced, and I just wanted to research and learn and dig and find that one thing. And I realized in the course of my reading that there was only one thing that differentiates really successful people from not so successful people. And the one thing I discovered was the fact that mindset is the primary difference between a really successful person and a not so successful person. Then I began to dig into exactly what mindset was. How do I shift my mindset? How do I change my mindset? How do I utilize the shift in my mindset as a way to alter the course of my life? How do I change the trajectory of my family just by shifting my mindset? That was where this whole journey of personal development and personal growth, that's where it started for me. And so for 20 years, I continued to build this habit of constantly learning, constantly building myself, and investing a lot in me. And so today I decided, wow, after 20 years of learning and failing and growing, I think it's very important that I at least share a piece of all that I have learned through the course of my personal development journey with the rest of the world. I like to say that life does not come with a manual. And so it's imperative to crack the life code sooner than later in life. And so I wanted to help generations yet unborn to have a manual by which they could navigate different areas of life. So I decided to condense all the learnings and all the knowledge that I've gained over 20 years of my personal development journey into that book called Cracking the Life Code. That's really the story of the book.
Well, that's awesome. I cannot wait to get my hands on it, because 20 years of personal and self-development, there's going to be some awesome lessons. I want to take you back for a moment. You mentioned at 12 having this transformational experience, not necessarily in a positive manner, the circumstance, but yet you said passion comes from pain. That's a lot to put on a 12-year-old, man. That's a lot for a 12-year-old to say, man, I'm going to take this journey and some of this burden onto me. Talk to me about that, man. Talk to me. You don't have to get in specifics if you're not comfortable, but I'm curious what that experience looked like, how you were able to do that. And then, because obviously it's shaped your college. You said in college, you weren't out partying. You were sitting there getting better, growing, bettering yourself. That's pretty amazing at those early ages that you had such maturity and foresight and vision for what you wanted your future to look like.
Yep. I mean, frankly speaking, again, a lot of this comes from pain. It comes from suffering. It comes from, not being comfortable with the circumstances that I found myself. It comes from really just wanting more from life, really. So I want to say that growing up, my parents decided to place a lot of responsibility on me as the first of three boys. My mom went to grad school when I was 8. And I remember she invited me into the bedroom one day and told me, hey, I'm going off to school. And while I'm in school full time for my master's program, you are going to take some of the responsibilities that I currently have. And I'm like, I'm 8 years old. And mom's living off to grad school in a different city. And so I'm here responsible for my 2 younger brothers, ensuring that they get up on time and we get prepared for school, of course, with the help of my dad. And so I started learning to cook very early in life. I started learning to do laundry and do house chores. And lots of my friends at the time they were playing video games, like didn't even know what responsibility was. So it's not surprising that even as I've grown over the course of my life, most of my friends are usually around 10 years older than me, because I think for some reason, because I started taking on these responsibilities pretty early in life, it kind of made me grow very quickly, faster than my biological age. Now, do I feel like I lost anything as a child? Well, I don't know what I may have lost, but I think that placing this responsibility on me and me really just stepping into that role and taking on the responsibility. And up until this day, when I look back or when I listen to my brothers say, hey, you've really been a great inspiration in my life. You've helped me. I've always looked up to you, and you've really been that great pillar of support. Or when I listen to my father talk about me and talk about how I inspire him, even though I am his son. And I really wish that my mom was here today to also listen to some of these podcast interviews that I have granted over the past, say, couple of months. I'm sure she'll be very proud. But I would say that bearing these responsibilities super early in life wasn't quite easy, but I knew probably I needed to do those. I needed to step in or step up at different points in my life. And to this day, that's really what I still do. I still step in and step up and show up for the people that I care about and the people that I love. And I'm happy to do it every now and again.
You know, what's fascinating, Babs, as you're talking, I think about our generation of parenting, and I'm generalizing, of course, we haven't provided necessarily some of that autonomy, some of that, hey, it's on you, figure it out. And when you're talking, I was thinking, you know what? Tough times create strong men. Easy times create, weak men. And so I know it's not just men, it's men and women, but it's just fascinating. As I was thinking about, I'm thinking as a parent, I'm going, are we crippling our children by not putting some on them, by not saying, hey man, go ahead, you can cook at 8 years old, you can do these things, because they're so much more capable than I think we even give them credit for, right? They can do these things, but yet we want to protect them, make sure they're taken care of, when the truth is We want more Babs in the world, man. So
That's right.
put a little responsibility. That's not a bad thing. Any
That's
thoughts there, brother?
That's really true. I honestly, if we would just let the kids really explore their full potentials, we'll be amazed at what our kids can produce, what our kids can do. Honestly, rock bottom has produced more champion than privilege ever did. And I believe very strongly that kids that are raised with high level of responsibility maybe at some point are able to provide even more results than those without. So yes, we want to be the parents that we want. We want to provide, we want to protect, we want to guide, and play an active role in the lives of our kids. But if we would just let them test a little bit and see what their potentials are, what their capabilities are, we would be amazed at how much they can do. For me, I took on a lot of these responsibilities. I still take on a lot of responsibilities today because I feel very strongly that even though I have moved across continents, I've moved from Africa, I have moved to the United States, and I'm building a business, I'm building a community, and I'm doing all of these, it's still my responsibility to create a path for some of the kids on the backside of the wilderness in Africa who might be thinking, how do I even get out of this current situation? So I still feel responsible for those kids. And so I'm creating paths and creating opportunities that exposes these kids, to a world that probably is better than the one that they currently are in.
Yeah, and you talk about the power of resilience, and again, you did move from, I think you said Nigeria you were raised, and
Yeah.
came over to the States. And I think about that. That's a huge shift, man. You're leaving literally probably family members, and you may or may not speak the language as well as maybe, as in my point in saying that is that that creates some of this resilience, right?
Yep.
Because, and I love this. My both my in-laws came across, from Hong Kong and one from Thailand. And I think about their perspective. And that's what you're talking about. You're saying, look, you have so much available to you in the US. Anybody that complains about what we have here, you might want to travel to some other places, because I'll tell you what, if we have anything, we have legs up. So talk to me about power of resilience, brother. What does that look like? And maybe some of your experience as you made that trip from Africa to here, and I'm sure there's many challenges that you faced, and probably continued to learn resilience, and it's led to so much success today.
Yeah, I can totally talk all night about this experience, frankly speaking, because it does feel as though every door I knock on is completely shut against me. And this has been my experience through my childhood, my early adult life, and up until today. It just feels as though every door I knock on is completely shut against me. But I remember growing up as a teenager, my father called me one day and said, listen, if you knock on a door and it's not open, kick the door. And then he said, well, if you kick the door and you hurt your foot and the door's still not open, he said, listen, find a window. There has to be a way. And I learned and I kept that at the back of my mind all through my early adult life, where every time I try to knock on the door and they shut the door against me, typically people would recoil. They would go back and feel, sad and feel, like a victim. But for me, failure, lack, or whatever disappointment has been a fuel for me to keep going. And so I feel that resilience is one of the most powerful, critical life skill every individual needs to have. So when we hit roadblocks, which roadblocks are integral part of our success journey. So we've got to understand that for starters, that listen, the roadblocks that we're hitting on our way just means that we are on the right path. Because if we weren't going anywhere, there would probably be no bumps. It will be smooth. If you're sailing down a ditch, you just go smoothly and just fall all the way. But if you're trying to climb, definitely there'll be rough patches here and there. So those roadblocks are just, evidences that we're on the right path. So embracing those roadblocks. Sometimes I may have to trip a little bit. I may have to fall here and there. But the one thing is, I'm not going to stay down. I would always pick myself up and keep going. And I think that's one of the biggest secrets of my life till this point. So when people tell me, no, you are not allowed here, or it can't be done, or this is not for you, I just go back and find ways to make that for me. Thing is, I can either say, well, I've been told I can't access such and such, but, and then just decide to say, hey, maybe that's my fate. But I don't believe that that's my fate. So I believe in going for what I want. Life would never give me exactly what I want. Life would give me what I ask or what I go for. So I decide to put energy and action into my beliefs and continue to chase them. And one after the other, they keep coming through. So after many years of trying, after many years of work, hard work, at the point where I decided to move from Africa to the United States, it's a very interesting story. I already built a career for myself. I already started a business, couple of businesses, and I was doing pretty well for myself. But I realized that personally, my purpose required me to make a shift. It required me to travel and get closer to the fulfillment, to a place where I could fulfill that purpose. And for me at the time, it was the United States. I already had the visa where I could come in and out as a visitor in the United States. I'd come for work, for vacation, but then I decided I was going to pursue an advanced degree, a master's program. One of the roadblocks, I went to get a student visa, trying to do the right thing, right? And so I was denied a student visa. Didn't make sense to me for someone who's been in and out of the US as a visitor. Didn't make any sense to me. But like I said to you earlier, every point in my life, it does seem as though just every door just keeps getting shut. So I was denied a student visa, but then I could have said to myself, oh, well, maybe I'll consider Canada, or I'll consider the UK or somewhere else. But I said to myself, I have a goal, and my goal is to be in this specific location in order to achieve a certain purpose that I had set out for myself, and I'm going to do it. And so while my application was denied, I filed for it to be reconsidered. I went further to say, hey, I have proven that I am able to do what I've asked for, and I have every reason to be allowed an opportunity to study in the United States. After doing that, I was finally granted a student visa, by which I came to the United States, got my master's, started pursuing my doctorate degree. So that's just one example, but there's so many different examples of where I've been told, hey, no, you can't, not for you. But then the point is, I take those feedback and I go ask myself, how do I navigate this experience? How do I navigate this difficult situation? And I go back and I push harder, and guess what? The door opens. And when the door opens, the feeling is so gratifying. The feeling is so beautiful, just knowing that I didn't give up and I didn't quit. So that's really one of my strongest skills up until this day.
Yeah, man, as you're talking, I have this overwhelming feeling of it's remarkable how when something negative happens, when something maybe gets in your way, often, like you said, people feel like a victim, or they'll say, okay, it's not for me. You almost take it on as a challenge and say, you know what, this is my purpose. And if anybody's watching, I told him off camera, I'm like, dude, you got a smile that just lights up the room, man. So whatever challenges he's faced, there's no victimhood here, man. And you can feel it. You have this zest for life. And there's an energy you can feel, and we're on screen. I can still feel it. How do you keep such positive perspective when you're getting denied, when you're getting doors shut, when people are saying, you're not good enough, Babs, you're you can't have a visa, whatever trials and tribulations that were thrown your way? How do you still get up, smile, and say, yes, I do, and approach it with that ferocity? Because I think if more people could, I hope you're watching him, take a look at this smile, because it's golden. But, where's the mindset go there, brother? Because, all right, shut the door. You're not good enough, Babs. And you smile and just say, yes, I am. And I'm going to go even harder at you. Where's that come from, man? I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, frankly speaking, it comes from, again, knowing that going back to my past is not an option.
Mm.
So I cannot return to where I'm coming from. So the thing is, when I get to the sea, in order to cross the sea, I have to burn my boat
Mm.
and realize that I have no way of returning back to where I came from. And I either sink or I swim, and I'd rather swim. So this is really that perspective that I bring to life in every area of my life. So when people say, no, it's not for you, you can't do this, you can't have this, this isn't, you don't have a place here. All I say to myself is, you probably haven't seen that yet, or you probably haven't seen someone do it yet, but I'm happy to be the first. I can always go back. I can always do it. And one thing I think that whole exercise that I did in my college days of, just reading a lot about mindset, that's what propelled me with a lot of energy to say, it all starts in the mind. It all starts in the mind. Success or failure starts in the mind. If you're ever going to achieve anything great in life, it starts in the mind. Once your mind can conceive it, I believe that your hands can touch it. Once your mind can think it, I believe that your eyes can see it, your body can feel it. So I feel very strongly that no, it's not an option for me. You could say no to me and I'll just take it as, well, maybe no, not this time. But it doesn't mean that it would be no, I can't do it, or no, I can't have it. So, and the way that I built this over years for me is investing a lot in positivity. I flood my mind with a lot of positive energy, with a lot of positive words. Every day I wake up and I consume positive podcasts, positive information, because the truth is, what you expose your mind to determines the state of your mind. And so I like to expose my mind to positive things, to challenge my mind, that keeps me happy and positive every day, because that way I'm nourishing my mind for the day the challenges will come. I can literally reach for that positivity that already resides within my mind and use that to fuel myself for bad days.
Yeah, man, it's growth comes in uncomfortable times, right? If we're comfortable, if we're content, we're not growing. And so it's like every time you get that door shut, you're like, yes, I get to grow. But it's not like, yes, like, thank you for kicking my ass. You throw on some positive stuff and you're like, all right, I got this. I want to get into, you talk about living with purpose. And I love that. So many people, I think, are like, okay, got it, but what's my purpose? So brother, what has been your journey to discover what Bab's purpose is to being on this earth? How did you go about that process? Because again, I think people have heard it, but I love to hear the story of how you discovered your purpose. And that leads to really, again, that zest, that ferociousness of attacking, going to get that, because when you know your purpose, nothing's getting in the way.
That's right. Absolutely. Born to African parents, my parents, and like most African parents, only consider three careers to be careers. It's law, it's medicine, and engineering. And so if you're from a family of three, your career is naturally selected for you. So I have a brother who's an attorney, I have one who's an engineer, and I'm supposed to be the medical doctor, right? So I was set up to be a medical doctor. In fact, I studied biochemistry with the intention of being a medical doctor. But the truth is, when we understand, when we discover our purpose, it just helps us to narrow our energy and channel our energy in the right direction. And so we forget about distractions and just focus on the one thing we are here to achieve. For me, I like to say that life often leaves footprints. There's always a sign that directs us or points us in the direction of our purpose. So when we take a look at our lives from childhood all the way to wherever we are today, we can just take a look at our interests, take a look at the things that gave us a lot of energy and excitement. Think about the things we spend a lot of time doing without even realizing the time had passed. Now, we would always find one thread that holds all of these together. Now, that one thread could begin to guide us in the direction of what our purpose could be. At the age of 6, I showed up on television for the first time, reciting poems. And so every Saturday, I had a kids show on television where I'll go and recite a poem. That's where it started for me. By the age of 17, I had hosted my first conference for teenagers. And so it was really about inspiration. It was about inspiring people. Poem at the age of 6 was really about making people passing information along. When I was in college, I became the leader of the student body, and I was doing a lot of public speaking. I was being invited by other campuses to come speak and just provide some, inspiration. And I got out of college, started working in the same thing, all the way to this point where I built what's called Cracking the Life Code, a community that helps people who are looking for growth and who are seeking to, understand or master different areas of their life. So I can literally see that there's one thing that connects the different areas of my passion through the course of my life, and it's really just to inspire people to greatness. So I found this purpose pretty early, and I decided to just focus on it and narrow down, and just rather than spending a lot of my time trying to chase medicine and trying to be a doctor, which is really what my parents would have loved for me to do, but I decided to pursue my purpose. Remember earlier I told you I'm still here. I'm feeling responsible for kids in Africa who might be looking for opportunities. It's still part of my purpose. I'm here trying to inspire them, trying to tell them, listen, you can do it. If I can, yes, you can. So I found my purpose, but then it's not enough to discover our purpose. So I often like to say that the discovery of purpose is not a guarantee of its fulfillment. So we need to take it one step forward. We need to start thinking about even fulfilling the purpose that we've discovered. And in my book, Cracking the Life Code, I talked a lot about the P's that can help us fulfill, these purposes. I talked about people, place, I talked about passion, and I talked about platform as the P's that can help us fulfill our purpose.
Yeah, and I think of these kids that so much pressure is put on them. Not that your parents put a lot of pressure. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I've heard of both.
Trust me, they did.
But that's a lot of pressure to be put on someone. Yet you chose, hey, mom and dad, love you, but I'm seeking what I'm truly meant for. And I know you want it to be medicine, but it's just not me. And you did say something fascinating. You said, I found it early. But brother, I want to talk to those people that are listening right now, and they're stuck in this job that they don't like, or they're living in a place that they don't want to be. It's never too late to go pursue. And that's what I get out of you, man. It's like you said, hey, I had the easy job. I could live in Africa and chill, but I decided I'm going to go test myself. I'm going to grow. I'm going to get better. I want to go to the US because I get to expand, your influence. What would you say to people listening right now if they're not, living their authentic, purposeful life? What would you say to them right now to really get them moving and inspired and motivated to go find their own utopia?
Great. I mean, listen, one of the reasons people don't even think about purpose or fulfilling their purpose at all is the need for survival. I like to say that survival is the greatest enemy of purpose. It is the greatest enemy of success, because there's need to pay bills. There's need to survive. I need to eat. I need to feed my family. I need to pay the mortgage. I need to live today. And so when we get all caught up in this, need to pay the bills, need to take care of myself as of today, that's all called survival. So when we are in that survival mode, we can't think about purpose. So what we need to do is to pull ourselves out of that survival mode and take a bird's eye view of our lives and understand that there are different perspectives than the one that we're currently in. That was my situation as a kid. I knew there had to be something more to life than the experiences that surrounded my upbringing at the time. And I understand that we have these bills and we need to take care of them. That's how to be responsible adults. That's important. But here's the thing. There are things that money can buy, and there are things that money cannot buy. I often say that I would rather be rich in my mind and be poor in my purse than be rich in my purse and be poor in my mind. I want to invest more in what money cannot buy and in what money cannot buy than what money can buy. I'd rather spend my time investing in things that money cannot buy: relationship, health and wellness, the things that matter to me. Listen, COVID hit two years ago and the whole world was shut down. And this career that we hold so tightly onto was taken away from a lot of people within the blink of an eye. So you go spend your entire life stuck in this career, but within the blink of an eye, you lost that job. Many people began to realize that, wow, it's probably just not worth it. And they began to rethink and reprioritize, reevaluate their priorities, if you will. So I think that if you are in a place in your life now where you're feeling stuck, I challenge you to ask yourself a simple question. And the question is, what would you be remembered for when you depart this earth? Because ultimately, that's the one question you want to answer. Would you be remembered for how many cars you bought, or how many homes you owned, or how many hours you worked? What is the one legacy that you want to be remembered for? And if that thing is what you're doing right now, then stay with it. But if it's not what you're doing right now, I challenge you to begin to think about doing the things that are more important to you. Now, it's going to come at a cost. For me, it was leaving a 6-bedroom home in Africa and moving into a basement in the United States. It was me navigating a new country where I had no friends, no family. It was me living the comfort of my family, living the beautiful, successful career, wonderful business that I built for myself, my relationships, and starting life all over again as an adult in a new country. That was the sacrifice for me. So you're going to have to be determined for yourself, am I willing to invest in me and my purpose and sacrifice all that it takes in order for me to live the life of my dreams? Otherwise, it's going to remain a dream for you.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. Life code. That word code is pretty specific. And I think of programming. When I hear that, I think of code, I think of programs, and I start thinking about all the hard wires that we're given. And, obviously the Matrix had come out, gosh, it's probably 20 some odd years ago now. That's wild. But why code, brother? Why did you use that specific word? I know there's a specific thing behind that, and I can't wait to hear why.
Listen, we're leaving the jet world. We're leaving the tech world. And I think the one way to connect with people is to use languages that they might understand. So it's a world of coding. A lot of things from machine learning to AI, everything's really built on codes. So our lives also, interestingly, are built on codes. Our mind, science has proven that the brain is like a mini computer. So I'm thinking, yes, if the brain is like a mini computer, we're talking programming here. We're talking about, some of these hardwired limiting beliefs that we carry all through our lives. Remember when we started, we did talk about the fact that life does not come with a manual. And so when a child is born, nobody gives the mother or the father a manual by which the child will navigate life. No, but what happens is the child begins to pick up signals and codes from the people around the child, the parents, the religious leaders, the teachers in school, extended family members, friends in the neighborhood. They begin to interact with these adults in their lives. And by extension, these adults are programming the kid with codes. Now, these codes will be mindsets. These codes could be behaviors. These codes could be habits. Now, as every adult in the life of a child is interacting with the child, subconsciously, we are programming the child with these codes. And now the child begins to grow up with the codes. What happens ultimately is this code is hardwired in the mind of a child. Now, there would come a time in the life of a child where these codes are basically the operational model for the child. So the child lives based on this mindset. The child exists and lives based on these behaviors and these habits. And now these habits might be hindering or helping the child. The child has no way of knowing. The child is just mopping up every information that the child finds as a child. But then when we come of age, we will need to ask ourselves realistic questions like, hey, where do I really want to go? What's my purpose? Why am I here? And do I have the beliefs to help me get to where I need to be? Are these beliefs that I'm carrying helping me, or are they hindering me? Are they limiting beliefs? Are they helpful? And then we begin to ask our questions like behavior. What behaviors support the vision that I have? What behaviors support the purpose that I have? Are these behaviors helpful? Are they harmful? And now we can then begin to think about cracking those codes and breaking them and replacing them with new positive and healthy ones that can help us achieve our ultimate goal.
If I'm listening to you and I'm like, man, this guy is positive, he feeds his mind, he believes in mindset, he never has a bad day, right, Babs? You wake up every day and it's like, yes, that's the way it goes.
Listen to me. I want to tell you, I have more bad days than good days, frankly speaking. But the truth is, I have made it a behavior, a pattern, and a habit to turn bad days into good ones. So I wake up every day. I get a bad news. I have bad days. But what I have decided to do is ensure that what's going on around me does not impact what's going on within me. So that's my responsibility. You can't control what goes on around you. You can't control how your coworker is going to talk to you at work. You can't control how the cashier is going to talk to you at the checkout point. You can't control how the Uber driver is going to talk to you. You can't control some of these things, but the one thing you can control is what goes on within you. So I make a conscious effort to ensure that if it's not good, it's not penetrating me. If it's good, I'm soaking it in. If it's not good, I'm bouncing it back. So that's really how I navigate bad days. I take them, I evaluate them. Are they great? Are they positive? If they're not, I just leave them where they are. I don't let them, I shut my mind, because the thing is, my mind is very important to me. And that's probably the word that I've said the most on this episode is the mind. And so after 20 years of working on my mind, I protect my mind with every energy that I have. I do not want to expose my mind. Having worked extensively for 20 years on my mind, building my mindset, I don't want to expose it to negativity. No. I want to protect it to the best of my ability. And the one way I protect it is to shut my mind to anything negative. It's just as soon as I identify it, I shut it down. And then I expose my mind to positivity. So yes, I do have a lot of bad days. But the truth is, I do not let the things that happen on the outside impact what goes on within me.
All right. So everybody, the whole interview's been great, but the last 2 minutes, he just literally unpacked. Everyone needs to hear what he just said. And I want to touch on this just a little bit more. So much energy in this world is spent on things out of their control, out of your control, whether it's politics or, like you said, a coworker or traffic, or name whatever shit is bothering you. Okay. And how much energy are you wasting on complaining about it, making it worse? I want you to hear what Babs said. He said, no, man, I'm not letting that in. I'm only blocking that negative energy and I'm bringing the positive. So if Tom over here is positive, I'm bringing him into my world, but Sue sucks, I'm keeping her out. I think it's such an important thing that you just said, brother. And I just want people to hear that. You make that choice to bring whatever energy and allow that into you. You choose. I love what you said there, man. I think it's so impactful. What's something surprising about you that if somebody's listening, they're like, man, this Babs guy sounds pretty cool. What's something that would surprise them about you other than, you know, again, this dynamic smile, this cool guy from Nigeria, super positive? What else about you, Babs, that would just shock them that they're like, whoa, that's pretty cool?
Well, I'll share two, one great, one not so great. the not so great one is that I do not know how to swim. That sucks. Okay. And I can talk about it if you want. I can talk about it. Frankly
Man. I
speaking,
mean, it's interesting, right?
you know, the truth is everything I've talked about up until this point builds or adds to why I don't swim. So here's what happened, right? As a child, my classmate in school drowned in a pool. That was sad. And so my parents, extremists by all standards, and the parents of other kids in my class decided none of these kids would ever go close to a pool or any body of water. And so it was forbidden for me and my siblings to go anywhere close to water. And so I grew up all my life thinking water was terrible. But then as I became an adult and I began to travel internationally, began to do public speaking across continents, then I realized a lot of water sports. I realized the beauty of cruises and some of these beautiful things you could do in water and on water. And I lost out on all of these beautiful experiences because I allowed the fear of an experience I had in my childhood to hold me back. So to this point, although I decided in 2020, I said, okay, well, I'm such an old man, but now I got to go learn how to swim with these kids in the swimming school, you know? And I was getting ready to start that when COVID hit and we had to put that on hold. But yeah, I don't know how to swim. That sucks. But then the other thing is I was a ping pong champion at 12.
Oh.
Yeah, so I do love ping pong and I play a lot of ping pong. Yeah.
Well, still has some skills today, I bet, man.
I
Cool.
definitely still have some.
And you don't need any water for ping pong, so you're good, man.
That's right.
I just, you know what, man, I want to give you just open form, something, anything. I didn't know enough to ask you, Babs, because you're an interesting guy. You got so many things that you're helping people with. Just open form, man. Anything you want to share with the audience?
I mean, honestly, I just something that's really occupying my mind right now is really this community that I'm building called Cracking the Life Code, which can be found on crackingthelifecode.com, where I just support individuals who are looking to be better, just do better for themselves and, master different areas of their lives. And our primary focus is essentially just becoming 1% better each day. That's the focus. We don't want to be overwhelmed by the big goals. We don't want to be overwhelmed by, this huge objectives that we're working towards. The only one thing that I ask everyone to do is ask yourself every day when you wake up, what's the one thing I want to do today to help me become 1% better today? And that's the last thing I'm going to ask everyone listening and watching today, that you think about it every day when you wake up. What's the one thing that I need to do today that gets me 1% closer to my goal or 1% better today? This is all I ask you to do every morning when you wake up.
Yeah, it's a reasonable request, brother. I love that. So you did mention crackingthelifecode.com. Where else can they connect with you online, Babs? If they want to reach out and hear more fascinating stories, maybe somebody wants to help you learn how to swim. Where can they connect with you, man?
I would absolutely love and appreciate anyone who's willing to help me learn how to swim right now. I'm active on Instagram, active on social media in general, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's Babs Faseesin on all social media platforms, Facebook and all that.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, look, mindset matters. I literally say it every show. It's hanging up behind me. And I love how much you said mindset because I believe in it. And you have one of those just really unique minds and amazing mindsets. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing so much of your knowledge with the audience, and keep up the great work, man. I really, really had a good time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here. I really appreciate your time as well. Thank you.
Truly my pleasure. I mean, guys, my goodness, the guy came, had it all set in Nigeria. He decides, yeah, I'm going to go to the US. Nope, you can't come in. Yes, I can. I'm going to find my way in. So many amazing lessons. please share this out. Make sure you review, subscribe, share with your friends. Everybody needs to hear somebody like Babs. Babs is in my life now. I'm fired up. So until next time, remember, your mindset does matter, and we will talk to you very soon. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.